Today on CityCast Boise, a while back we came up with 10 essential rules for surviving Boise, from how to dress to avoiding local faux pas and why you should get a dog. Frankie, Barnhill, and Minverva Jayne joined me to break it all down, and we're sharing our conversation again because these rules are timeless. It's Thursday, October 5th. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is what Boise's talking about. Hi, Frankie. Hi, Minverva.
Hi, Emma.
Hey. So we are doing this very fun and I think necessary thing where we are going to talk about the rules for surviving Boise. And this is for newcomers, if you're new here, maybe, or even if you've been here a while, things have changed so much. So maybe the rules have changed. But just real quick, how are we surviving, ladies? How are we doing?
On the scale of surviving to thriving? Yeah, I don't know.
It really depends on the day. It depends on the day, the headlines, what comes across my Twitter feed.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Minverva, why don't you start us out? What's your first rule for surviving Boise?
Well, this is one that I've actually told people when they're new to town or if they are visiting to town. I said, in Boise, you cannot judge a book by its cover at all. People are so all over the place, especially with how they look. Like, you could see an old fella walk into the bank in a pair of dirty sweats and muddy cowboy boots, and you're thinking, gosh, who is this? And he's like a millionaire. Like, that's Boise, right? Like, some people are going to look like they're ready to go to a gala at any time of any day. And some people are looking like they have not washed their clothes in like years. And you really can't judge where they are, like socioeconomically or like society wise. You just have no idea.
Yeah. And how much do you think that is about like literally what people choose to wear? I mean, you mentioned like the gala thing. It's like the 2 times out of the year, one of the rules I would say is just expect it to be casual most of the time and for you to probably be overdressed if you're someone who likes to dress up, and be okay with that. Like, you're probably going to be one of the only ones in a dress or a suit if you go to an event. You can lean into it, but know that you're kind of going to stand out a little bit.
Jeans, they're always appropriate for everything around here,
For sure.
That's a very good point. I feel like I have shown up to so many like parties and events vastly overdressed my whole life because I'm like, no, but this is supposed to, somebody said, oh, like fancy casual. And I was like, got it. And then you get there and you meant, oh, bolo ties is what you meant. Like a bolo tie. Got it.
And chakras.
All right, Frankie, what do you got for us?
Okay, this is, I don't know, have your head on a swivel. It might be the headline, but it's more like, if you're gonna goss, don't do it in public, because as much as we love to talk about how big this city has become, how much it's growing, it is still a small town. And be aware of the fact that if you say something about someone in public, someone might hear you and tell that person.
That is really good advice. That is very good advice. I hate it just because I'm an eavesdropper and I love to be sitting in like Flying M, just like my little bat ears out, just listening to what? Getting all the local gossip. But it's very good. And I'm sure all of us have had a moment where we're talking about somebody and then they Boise style like walked by or
or their
like,
boyfriend or their yes, exactly. I have definitely been known, hey, I'm not a major gossiper, but we all do it. I have been known to use code names when I'm talking with someone about a story that I just don't want it to get back. So, yeah.
Well, and I also think that, like, if you're going to do it, also don't necessarily make it judgmental in your gossiping, because then you're, like, just talking about people you care about. But I can't even tell you how many times I've been in the ladies' room and I've walked out of the stall. And I've heard this conversation going on about people I know, people in the same business as me. I've walked out and people who are in the same shows, and then they look at me and I'm like, I'm not saying a word. Like, this is not going to be an issue. I am my most unselfish when I am minding my own business.
Not a narc. Minverva is not a narc.
Not a narc.
Mine, I kind of hate to use this one because this is like a real rule, and I feel like it's a little bleak, but it's actually good advice. When you register your car, I really suggest that you pay the extra few bucks to get one of the like vanity / like, like the design kind of plates. And this, if you're just sticking around Boise and you're not going anywhere, this doesn't, don't worry about it. But if you're somebody who's like wanting to get out into the rural areas and like explore, I would really, if you get one of those vanity plates or one of the special design ones, it does not have your county on it. So it doesn't say 1A, which really will cut down on any potential conflict you have when you're out in certain counties. Lemhi, that's my home county. I'm allowed to make fun of Lemhi County. But recently, this came up a couple years ago when we were camping up near Atlanta. Our car got very, very stuck. We tried to dig it out for hours. We could not. And there's no traffic on that road. But finally, when somebody comes by, if they see you have 1A plates, they're a lot less likely to stop and help you out in the woods. So I hate that that's a rule. I hate that it's a very silly, red-blue divide thing. But if you're planning to be out in the rural counties, I would think about that. I would think about those plates.
I have something to add to that, which hopefully is fairly obvious. But if you are a newcomer, especially if you're a newcomer from California, change your license plates ASAP.
Yeah.
Do not drive around town with those California plates unless you want to get some mean stares and people cutting you off in traffic, which I hate. I hate. It's so stupid that people, judge people like that. Like you said, Minverva, don't judge people just by what they wear or what car they're driving or whatever. But it's a thing. There was one time that I had to get a rental car and they wanted to give me a car that had California plates. And I was like, no, give me any other state's license plates. I will take it, but not that.
Well, back when I did drive, because I don't drive anymore, but I kept my 1G license plate the entire time from the time I got my license plates when I was a kid, and I never changed them. And I could drive anywhere, and people either didn't know that it was Gem County or they thought it was a different county than what it was. But they also had very low expectations on how I would be as a driver too. So I liked that.
A nice little angle to that. I like that.
It felt stealthy, and it was like, okay, it was sort of like, okay, I'm gonna have my 1G drag on, and no one's gonna expect anything from me because I am from Emmett.
And then you do this amazing parallel parking job in downtown or something, and everyone's like, oh.
They're like, that Emmett gal can park.
Yeah, look at her. Wow, she backed into that spot like she, like no one's business,
I love it. All right, Minverva, what do you have next for us?
I think that this really serves you in Idaho in general, but I really feel like Idaho really is like the Wild West in some ways, and it's a live and let live kind of environment. So don't move here and decide that you're going to change everyone you meet, because we tend to be pretty set in our ways if we've lived in Idaho for a long time.
Yeah. And you kind of need to prove yourself or earn that, hey, I've been here and I'm doing things, and I'm also not trying to immediately just change things just because I see something that could be changed.
Right.
It's maybe get an understanding for why it is the way it is right now.
We've especially seen so much of that because I think a lot of people moved here, wanting sort of this rural paradise. And then they get here and it's different than what they were expecting. I think a lot of people moved here and then did kind of the opposite of what Minverva is advising, where they're like, okay, this is what I thought Idaho was going to be, and this is what I want it to be. So fix that, please. Do that.
Okay, I think my next one is going to be, we know that Boise and Idaho are very family-oriented places to live. So if you don't have family here, get a dog. And it's also a really dog friendly place too. But I kind of sincerely mean that. Like, it's great to have companionship and having that loyal buddy with you all the time when everybody else is busy, like hanging out with their families on the weekends or whatever. It's always good. And then you can meet other dog owners too at the dog park or whatever, out on walks. But I do think there's something about that family oriented, like it's such a family oriented place that if you're new and you didn't move with family, it can be a little bit lonely. So yeah, get a dog.
That's good advice. I've heard a lot of people say that moved here that, they were like, it's very family or like couple oriented, and it can be hard to find stuff if you're just one person to do, and hard to make friends, like a hard place to make new friends because people are, they've had a lot of people have lived here a long time. They've had the same friends for 25 years. They're not really looking for new people. Yeah, that's a good advice. Get a dog is always good advice in my opinion.
Well, and I'm a total dog person, and I actually think that in Idaho and in Boise, people like dogs more than they like people. So it really can be sort of a bridge of like, oh, this person's a safe person to talk to because they love animals, and it's like, I know I'm kind of that way. If I see somebody with a dog, I'm more likely to say hi to them and like interact with them and not know them than if they don't. It really can help that social interaction along a little bit.
That's very true. People, I'm very like that. I don't really want to talk to people, but I definitely want to meet your dog.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I have one, and since I was a kid, people will be like, "Oh, just don't talk politics. You'll get along with everybody if you don't talk politics." My advice is talk politics. What I tend to do is when I talk politics with people, I'm not trying to change their mind. Because people are pretty entrenched a lot of times, especially somewhere like here with what they believe. Like at the dog park the other day, a man was, very decked out in his quote unquote team's gear. You know what I'm saying? Like red hat, the whole thing. And he kicked off a conversation with me. Our progressive population here was always so small. We always had to exist with, people who believed more conservative things than us. And part of the way I was raised is just kind of like keep your opinions to yourself to some degree. But as I've gotten older, I've been like, I'm just going to talk about this. Like, it doesn't have to be some gigantic argument. I can just be like, yeah, I don't believe any of that crap. This is what I think about it. And I also think like, in a place like this that is so divided, the way to get through that and to maybe like make changes and to become a more progressive place is to have conversations with people that are not arguments, just to talk about the actual issues with people. And I think that you should talk politics with people. And I think that Idaho could use a lot more of those conversations, and Boise too.
Wow. Yeah. What a contrarian view. And I love it. I can just imagine you at the dog park, like leaning in, being like, actually, no.
No. Yeah.
I tend to have some discomfort talking about politics. I think maybe just because my existence is so political in any way. And I'm trying to just like get along with people. And I really do think that people are more alike than they are different. And so I try to focus on that kind of stuff. But I will, if people ask me questions, I mean, I am open to having the conversation as long as they know that like I don't want to have an argument. Like my goal is not for us to like hate each other at the end of the day if I can help it.
Yeah. And a lot of times what I've found is, growing up with conservatives, a lot of times we agree on a lot of core issues that if you don't use these words that have been sort of thrown around to specifically make it so that we're at each other's throats instead of billionaires' throats, I find that a lot of times they agree with you. If you say, well, don't you believe that people have the freedom to live however they're living if they're not harming people? Of course we believe that, So I do think like those conversations are important. And also, like Minverva, like to your point, I always figure I will have the conversation about certain things so that the people in those marginalized groups don't have to, like I can have a detached conversation because that isn't affecting me personally. So I always figure like you kind of have a responsibility to be the person like being willing to have those conversations. So yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Emma, because some of us are really exhausted. We've been talking about it. Yeah. We've been asked the same question 8 million times a year for the last however many decades. And it's like, okay, Google it, please. Could you Google it maybe? I don't know.
All right, Minverva, what's next?
Well, and this is especially when people come to visit and they're like, well, what is there to do in Boise? And of course, there's a ton of things to do, but I always tell them that they need three things. They're going to need their allergy medication, they're going to need sunscreen, and they should pack an extra liver just in case. Because, because Boise can throw down in those departments. And the next thing you know, you're having a fun day and it's 1:30 in the afternoon and you're going to need an Uber home. So it's like when Boise presents fun, go along with it, but just know it's serious fun here.
That is great advice. And I've had so many comedian friends come through and then be like, you guys, you drink a lot, right? This is a very drinky town. And I'm like, well, we're very isolated.
Yeah. What else are we going to do? Yeah.
Well, and actually, it's like, no, we didn't know we drank a lot. Or is it that you don't drink enough?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Sunscreen. Great. Great one, Minverva. Can I segue from that into one that I know that you will
Yes, absolutely.
Which is, you better love winter, you better really love summer, and you better not care about spring or fall because it doesn't exist here.
That's perfect. But my next one was, listen, you get spring or fall, but you do not get both. So that's perfect.
One or the other. Yeah.
This is so true.
But really, though, they've gone. They're like, oh my God, I swear to God, 10 years ago, we had more spring and more fall. I'm sure I could look nerd out at the National Weather Service data to say that, but holy crap, it's like, it's either 45 degrees or less or 95 plus.
Yeah. You get 4 days, like we did this year, 4 days of like 72.
Yes.
Just perfect out. And then it was like, all right, 86. Enjoy. It was very quick. So, yeah.
Idaho likes to just give you a little taste and then take it right away. That's what they like. And they said, nope, you've had your treat.
Yep. What a tease. Emma, do you have any more?
This one is going to be, Frankie, you're going to love this one so much. If you move to Boise, you got to fall right in love with Winco. That is your new best friend, Winco. It's significantly cheaper. I'm not being paid by Winco for this. I'm not sponsored by them. I just love them. They're significantly cheaper than pretty much anywhere in town and, employee owned and, just so, a great place to shop. You're going to see all your neighbors and friends there. And yeah, I love Winco. And I think a lot of times when people move here, I've heard them they'll shop somewhere and be like, oh my gosh, groceries are so expensive here. And I'm always like, you're in the wrong spot. You got to go to Winco.
You are choosing the wrong Boise chain, unnamed other chain. That is
not going to name
expensive.
The other ones, but Winco is your winner.
Yeah, I can attest to that because when I first moved here, I didn't know, I didn't get it because, you got to know the rules of Winco. You got to have a debit card or cash or check. Who has those? I don't know. And you're bagging yourself, which I'm down for. I actually love bagging myself. It's like a game of Tetris for me. And it feels like a little overwhelming kind of if you haven't been in a store that feels like that, where it's like, oh, okay, where am I going now? And there's like bright light and nothing fancy looking, but damn, there's good stuff there. So Emma, thank you so much. I can't believe that I didn't share that rule, but you are so right.
Yeah, there's some adrenaline attached to the shop.
Yes.
Like when you get up and you're like, okay, let's do this. Let's bag our groceries. Let's go. Especially if you're like, for me, you're shopping for 3 teenage boys and you've got all the milk and bread in the store. Yeah, it can be a little frantic, but I still love it.
If you can get over the size of it and it's very there's a lot of concrete and it's very, cold and you might get run over by a forklift if you're going at 2 a.m, that kind of stuff, Well, I think that this is a good one just for anywhere in the world. And it's kind of a little bit on how it kind of touches a little bit on some of the things that we've talked about. But, we talk about Boise nice, but really the just even bare minimum politeness, being kind gets you so far. And then they may look at you they may look at me and go, what is going on here? Who is this 40-year-old Dolly Parton impersonator walking around Boise, but she seems nice. She held the door. It's it really helps, I think. And I think people really are nice. They might not necessarily be invested in you beyond that, that politeness part. I think people talk about how Idahoans are nice, but it's just on the surface. And I think, well, that's called being polite, right? It's not that you're being mean. It's just that you're probably strangers. But that common courtesy, at least in my world, has been really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think that it's like the on the green belt and on the trails, like we do the nod, we say hello, we smile, not to be freaked out when that happens. People don't want anything from you. They're just being generally polite and kind. And I feel like it can be a little off-putting if you're from a place that doesn't do that, but it's just people acknowledging your existence. And I mean, what a bare minimum thing to do, but it does open the doors for other potential things, and just makes your day have less resistance.
Totally.
Like all of that, and that feels very Boise to me, for sure. I agree.
Right, and it's like if you lived here for a long time, that like people even driving might just like raise their fingers up off the steering wheel as a howdy.
Oh, totally.
And it's like that's what we do here. They don't know you. They don't know. They don't. And I think that's kind of beautiful. I mean, that's like it's very it's very like old school to me. Like, yeah, we're all in this existence. We might not agree or we don't know each other, but hey, how's your day? All right.
Well, these were great rules and very helpful, and a good reminder that a lot of what we are saying was just like, our city is so sweet. Let's just keep it sweet and friendly. But thank you both so much for being here, and I loved your rules.
Thanks, Emma. It was a pleasure to be here. And this was a great conversation, and it kind of reminds me why I love Boise so much.
Here's to thriving in Boise.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, check out our Hey Boise newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more local stories from around the city. Bye.